We're so often told in this country that if you just work hard and continue to achieve, you will be rewarded. But that promise has not been for everyone.
That's U.S. soccer team star Megan Rapinoe testifying before the House Oversight Committee on March 24, 2021, about a problem that she shares with women across all industries: the gender pay gap. The women's soccer team has been tremendously successful.
For the fourth time, the United States of America crowned champions of the world.
The men, not so much.
The United States eliminated, missing out on the World Cup.
Yet the women allege they don't have the opportunity to earn as much as the men. As a result, the women's national team filed a sex discrimination lawsuit against their employer, the U.S. Soccer Federation. It was filed under the two most important legal protections for gender discrimination cases, the Equal Pay Act and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. These laws, created over 60 years ago, were supposed to address gender discrimination in the workplace, yet the wage gap still exists. Which begs the question, is this even a problem laws and courts can solve?
I remember working in a fancy law firm.
This is Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, a champion of women's rights. Before being elected, she was a lawyer in New York at Boies Schiller Flexner, a law firm with 11 offices in the US and London, where even she experienced pay discrimination.
A male colleague who had the same graduation year as I had, who had the same similar background and training, worked on the same type of cases, his hourly rate was higher than mine. And so I went to our managing partners and said, I really don't think this is fair. I think I should have the same hourly rate as my colleague. And the first year I went and made the case, they agreed. The next year, again, our rates were different when they were reposted. I had to go again to the managing partners. I was able to get the rates changed again. And then the third year it happened.
Senator Gillibrand's experience isn't unique. A report published in 2021 by the American Bar Association found that without exception, every study of lawyers' compensation has found a persistent income gap between women and men at law firms. These inequities exist across all industries: doctors, bankers, movie stars, even traditionally female-dominated fields like nurses and teachers. It's how we end up with this.
Women still earn less than men. 82 cents on the dollar on average.
There are many reasons historically why women's work has been undervalued.
Charlotte Burrows chairs the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the primary federal agency that enforces laws against job discrimination. She says her agency has a few tools to enforce equal pay.
We do have, fortunately, laws on the books, and have for some time, that address pay discrimination directly.
Those laws date back to 1963, when the director of the Women's Bureau of the Department of Labor, Esther Peterson, supported a bill that had been sought by many before her.
There shall be a rate for the job, and it is illegal for two people to perform the same job, and there be one rate for a woman and another rate for a man.
Signed into law that year by President Kennedy, the Equal Pay Act amended the Fair Labor Standards Act. Equal pay for equal work became the law of the land. A year later, the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law. Title VII of that bill protected workers against discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. It seemed that women were finally legally protected from wage discrimination.
Quick, Batgirl, untie us before it's too late.
It's already too late. I've worked for you a long time, and I'm paid less than Robin. Same job, same employer means equal pay for men and women.
No time for jokes, Batgirl.
It's no joke. It's the federal equal pay law.
But in reality, women didn't always have the same leverage as Batgirl. Most negotiations went more like this.
And I don't know if you read in the paper, but they passed a law where women who do the same work as men will get paid the same thing. Equal pay.
It's not a good time.
We've been able to cut the pay gap since 1963 a little bit more than in half. But that's not a lot of progress for 6 decades. Some of that has to do with narrow readings of the law by the courts. But more broadly, pay discrimination based on sex is difficult to find because folks simply don't know that it's going on.
Enter a supervisor at a Goodyear tire plant named Lily Ledbetter, who found out only because of an anonymous note that she was being shortchanged, making less than her male counterparts for nearly 2 decades.
To stand there and look at those numbers and just think back how hard it'd been on my family. I don't think I've ever had a lower point.
In 1998, Lilly Ledbetter sued her employer Goodyear Tire for pay discrimination under Title VII and won. But the case went to the Supreme Court and the decision was reversed, 5-4 on a technicality. Ledbetter's lawsuit had been filed too late. Title VII says a plaintiff has 180 days to file a complaint. The court ruled that those 180 days started when the discrimination first happened, meaning from Ledbetter's very first paycheck. The majority opinion did not sit well with Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who penned one of her most notorious dissents.
Each paycheck she received that reflects that differential renews the discrimination.
Congress fixed the discrepancy, and in 2009, President Obama signed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, making it clear that the statute of limitations resets with each new paycheck. The next step may be recognizing that equal pay for equal work isn't all there is to the pay gap. There are other factors and challenges that also contribute.
I think we need both laws that directly look at pay discrimination, but also laws that support the infrastructure around work, national paid leave, affordable daycare, universal pre-K.
And then there's the challenge of applying today's discrimination laws to intersectional identities, such as age, disability, gender identity, and race.
Because the law likes a very binary, this or that. But if you are an African American woman, you may not easily fit into the box that the courts have built for getting legal relief.
Megan Rapinoe may have summed up the current state of the gender pay gap best.
If it can happen to us, with the brightest light shining on us, it can, and it does, happen to every person who is marginalized by gender. But we don't have to wait. We can change that today. We can change that right now. We just have to want to.